Rightio, with the old head come up with a bit of liquor paint. Looks quite good. The old cat yellow comes up alright. We'll get those injectors back in, get the rocker rack back on, and should be pretty much ready to put back on once I get that looking pretty. Anyway, one thing at a time. So I've started cleaning up the block a little bit at a time, and just a little interesting thing here, the bolt holes here, what I think I remember seeing are the engine mounts for when these engines are in the Ford Trader or the Mazda T4100, and it requires a different oil filter housing bracket to clear that engine mount. And I thought, yeah, that's weird that even back in the 70s they had a couple of different configurations for engine mounts. Interesting. Yeah, so anyway, just giving this a bit of a clean up. So I actually thought this used to be like billet aluminium back in the day and thought it was very Gucci, but it seems very cast, and I'm not quite sure what it's made of at the moment. Guess I could put a, yeah, well, it's not magnetic, so it's cast alloy. I've got a magnet on the back of my phone in case you're wondering what that was all about. There you go. So it's coming along. I'll give this a lick of paint once it gets very nice, and then waiting for my days off to come along so I can take my time with this little repair, not get rushed before bedtime or being summoned back into the house. So anyway, work progresses. So check this out, folks. This is a little journey of discovery. I haven't entirely been happy with this injection pump. I've had a couple of weird things happen. Don't know if it's just that or the injector's been set wrong or whatever, but funnily enough, I was just cycling this, the accelerator rocker, and it's really binding, and I can see that the spring underneath it's just not the right spring. It's completely over compressed and distorted and binding like buggery on the stroke, and I've been having incredible difficulties trying to work out why it hesitated with returning to idle, and at some high revs actually getting stuck for a little while then letting go. And bugger me if the bush mechanic in me isn't putting it down to that abortion that these guys fitted, and then charged me a pretty penny for that privilege. So I did take it back when I wasn't happy, when it was still bench mounted, and then when I put it in the end, put it back in the car, I took it back. Yeah, and they admitted something was wrong, but they gave me a list of things to think about. And of course, your idle's set too high maybe, or something like that. And the guy that actually did the work left just after that, and the owner wouldn't return my calls. So I sort of just gave up, thinking I really need to look at that one day. And would you check that out? If this was an automatic and binding like that, imagine that. What kind of chaos you're in for. And I half thought to myself it might be a like a governor hanging up or getting caught on a casting. I don't know. I was just guessing because I've never pulled an injection pump before. But would you have a look at that? That's like wide open throttle stuck. And that spring. What the hell's going on there? I mean, I'm not going to tell you who it was that built it, but Jesus Christ. I went there because they had a good reputation, but it only takes one. Anyway, I think I might have solved another mystery along the way. Geez, there's been a few on this one. Far out. The Toowoomba range had me scared one day when she didn't want to slow down, but eventually let go. And I think I just found the culprit. Alright, so I pulled the spring out and it's got some crazy wear on it, like it's just totally wrong. So flip the spring upside down and put it behind this post, and it seems to be working heaps better. So could it be that they just had it upside down? Because before, this little tab that was not bolted down or nutted down wasn't doing anything, wasn't touching anything. So it's just crazy. Even though it's not sitting pretty, it's still got a bigger diameter spring than the shoulder post that it sits on. So I don't know, I might take that to an injection place and see. While we're on the subject of changes, I was talking about these holes before. We finally put some glasses on and shine some light in them. Originally thinking they're glow plugs. They don't actually go very far. They only go in 20 mil and they hit the casting for the head bolt. But a friend of mine here pointed out that these things you can just see in the paintwork there are probably dowels or screwed in caps, grub screws for the original glow plug holes, and they may or may not be threaded. So I'm thinking I might drill into one of those and use an easy out and see if I can still go the route of putting in glow plugs. But if any of you that were shaking your head when I said they were glow plug holes earlier can tell me what they are for, that would be good. You can see where the spring's been binding on itself. See that weird wear inside there? On both ends, inside there. So, not good. Welcome back, ladies. I went to drill out, use an easy out on the plugs in the glow plug holes, and they do not want to budge. So I'm sort of on the fence at the moment, whether I keep going or not. Would have been better to attack that when it was still unpainted, so I could use some heat, but I don't know, I might just move on. Don't know, because it's the best time to do it when it's out, eh? But anyway, giving up on that, put the injectors in. While I was blowing out the valves, I had this little bit of steel pop out of one of the valve holes. So the only thing I can think of for it to be up there, and it looks like it's a bit of a match for the gauge and the radius, is these rocker positioning springs. So I have to assume it's off this motor, not when they rebuilt the head and maybe put this rocker gear over, I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to pop a circlip off and measure all the springs, have a good look at them and see if one of those springs isn't buggered. Okay, so I've pulled off the circlip and a little thrust washer off the end, pulled off all the rocker assembly, put it all in the same order so I can't stuff that up. Left those two on the end because no springs there. Started cleaning them all the springs, and measuring them. So far they're all about 14.5 millimeters. They all look pretty good. They all actually look all intact, so you never know. Might have something to do with what happened when old mate lunched the head back in the day, but don't know. Anyway, keep searching. So I ended up putting the rocker arm back together so I don't stuff up the orientation or lose anything, but I'm going to replace all of these springs because I should have taken a photo while it was out, but the end, one end of each of these springs is all pitted and galled and like it's chattering or wearing weird. Looks like a 20-cent coin being run over on the road, that dimpled look. So they're wearing or not wearing, they're reaching the end of their life faster than everything else. Don't know what that's about. I'll try and look into that. But also learnt something else by reading the manual. The oil gets forced up, not through hydraulic lifters or anything, it actually gets forced up into the rocker arm, and that's how it floods the whole tappet cover, or tappet area, and then just floods back through the push rod holes back into the oil system. And the only way that the oil makes it up out of the block through the cam bearing up into the head is through this hole at the front of the engine, and then that goes into the rocker system. One little hole.